dear sister. What a blessing. What a joy to see you and to be in conversation. I can tell you that. I'm looking at one who should be the vice president, my dear sister Melina, Dr. Abdullah, Freedom, and Red. To hope and pray that your family's all right. You know, brother, father, it's a 1 year anniversary since he passed. We talked about mom yesterday. For, of
Mhm.
course, our beloved Prince. Lord have mercy. What is it now? 9 years that he died? Yes.
9 years, 9 years. Well, Dr. West, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about Tavis yesterday, about our beloved Prince, right? We had our staff meeting yesterday morning, and our check-in question was a Prince song, a Prince lyric, or a Prince memory to share with us. And the young ones, I said, "Oh, y'all on punishment because we got a trip to Texas this weekend." I said, "It's only Prince the whole time because you don't get to work for Black Lives Matter grassroots and you don't know nothing about Prince." So, so all day long we were playing Prince, and I have two songs I still can't listen to. Um, but Dr. West, can we maybe start with that? Can we start with a little bit about your favorite song, lyric memory, but also why he is so important, especially I feel like in this time when our imagination is being stifled by the fascist in chief and all that surrounds him. What about Prince?
Yeah, well, it's just nothing like the brother. And for me, I mean, so many memories with Tavis and my blood brother Cliff West there at Paisley Park with him and traveling the world with him at Montreux and there in France. I guess the song that hits me hard is Still Sign of the Times. And I just remember dancing the Kiss nonstop for about 7 minutes. Paris in the 1980s when he was there. Actually, he performed there. I went to
Right.
see. But I adore too. So many songs that cut to the core of who I am and being blessed to have spent such high quality time with the brother and with Tavis and my blood brother Clifton just allows me to recognize how blessed my life has been. You know what I mean? Just to meet somebody like him, to know him, and to realize he had an energy, vitality, and vibrancy. He had a genius and a talent that could never be snuffed out. He had a joy that could never be undercut. And that's crucial for us in these neo-fascist days, crucial for us dealing with the gangsters in the White House and other places, and crucial for us to remain rooted in the best of our traditions. And I think of your beloved mother in Oakland.
Mm.
Same energy, vitality, and vibrancy in her own distinctive way. That's what Prince was doing. He was a wave in our ocean, but there's a whole lot of different waves in our ocean, my dear sister. Very much so. And that's what our campaign was about, to keep those waves coming. Of a great
That's right.
and the truth and seeking justice.
That's right. And I do want to go into this radical imagination and think about the moment that we're in and what could have been. But I want to ask you one more Prince question first. How did y'all become friends? What happened? How did that happen?
Tavis introduced me to him. Tavis was the one that introduced me and my blood brother Cliff. And then Prince had asked Tavis and I to be part of a panel in Paisley Park that he was doing. I think it was on xenophobia. You remember that?
Mm, mhm.
And on
Mhm.
xenophobia. And we went there and we started spending extra time there and talked about Jehovah Witness. Met the great Larry Graham, of course, and his beloved wife. Uh, and after that, it became even more intense because when he received the NAACP Image Award and he asked me and Sister Angela Bassett to introduce him, I said, "Brother, I'm not worthy to be introducing you." And it's not like I hang out with NAACP a whole lot. Listen, but I mean, I got different kind of crowds too, but I salute the work they do, but I don't spend a whole lot of time in their circles. He said, "No, I want you and Angela to be the two." And so at that point, I knew that, like, Lord have mercy, this is a very special thing that
Mhm.
he has with me. And as you know, he didn't celebrate his birthday on June the 7th. So Brother Tavis and Cliff, we tried to be there on June the 7th, and I always just give him a little hug and here. I know it's happy birthday anyway, brother. I want you to know we love you to death and we thank you for enriching our life with your music. And he just kind of smiled, he kind of smiled.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
what is your favorite song, though, sis?
So I have a lot of them, but I said I'm gonna sound like I don't know every Prince song, but I do know every Prince song, but it's still Purple Rain. That was his favorite song. It's still Purple Rain. There's no better song in the world ever made than Purple Rain. You know, so
Oh,
Purple Rain's still my favorite. And I can dig into some crates. My child's favorite is So Blue on the For You album. So
ooh,
that's hers. I can dig into some crates, but Purple Rain is just it does cover me. It just fills me differently. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. So when we come forward, Dr. West, I want to talk about this moment that we're in where we see every form of genius, including artistic genius, attempt to be stomped out by this White House, but also the fascists that surround this regime, because it is a regime, right? And how we fight back, how we use music, how we use art, how we use voice to fight back, and also where we could be had we been calling you President West. You're still my president. But when we come forward more with Dr. Cornel West, and I'm Melina Abdullah, grateful to be here. Truth time, y'all.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-388-6607, 800-388-6607, 800-388-6607.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
I never meant to call you in your sorrow.
I can't see.
I never meant to call you in your pain. I'm the one that wants to have you laughing. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Only want to see you bathing in the purple rain.
All right, I would let you keep going with that, Miles. It's hard to come back in talking when some Purple Rain is going. Dr. West.
Mm.
Dr. West. That's the one, right? That's
Uh,
the one.
I
That's
understand,
the one.
but that hits at a very deep level, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does. Look, I don't want to go too long, but I'm going to say one of my best Prince stories is for my 50th birthday. Um Tavis, our brother Tavis came to my backyard party and let me hold Prince's guitar.
Exactly.
Let me hold Prince's guitar. Now look, my heart is filling up, but let me hold Prince's guitar. That might be the best present I've ever received. Let me hold Prince's guitar. The one that he played at the Super Bowl when Purple Rain actually purple rained. So, yes, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So Brother Travis took the guitar from his crib to his house and brought it to your party.
Brought it to my party.
That's heavy.
Brought it to my party. My
That's
little old backyard party.
that's deep. But he knew how much
He knew. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
mighty.
So, Dr. West, one of the things that Purple Rain does for me and thinking about Prince does for me is it engages my radical imagination. And that's also one of the ways, and this is why we need people who move from many different spaces, right? And so I know why you and Prince would be friends because what he does with music, you do with intellect, right? That you radically imagine the world. And I never thought I would think of a policy platform as beautiful and artistic and creative, but your policy platform, our policy platform, was those things. It's radically imaginative about the world. And so I've been wanting to talk to you so badly about what we're facing in the world. And I think that what this regime is trying to do is get us caught up in this um, space of fascism where we're knocked back on our heels and disoriented. But Dr. West, you do what very few can do, which is reground us. So, what are we looking at? And is this fascism? And two, how do we fight our way out of it?
Well, I mean, one is that in many ways it's not new for Black people because we have been up against a variety of forms of US based fascist treatment. You could call it slavery, you could call it neo slavery, you can call it Jim or Jane Crow, you could call it terrorism, you could call it trauma uh, bombarding us. But what has happened now, it is that it's more raw and it is more full throated for the larger society as opposed to being targeted just on chocolate sides of town. And so, you know, the debate going on, is it fascism? Is it autocratic presidency, imperial presidency, authoritarianism, right-wing populism? All of these are kind of, you know, interesting academic debates. But in terms of the actual concrete lived experience of everyday people, for us who are grounded in the Black freedom struggle, it's really not new. We got political prisoners for a long time. You got violation of rights of Omali and others been going on for a long time. You got people getting pushed out of universities because they standing up for the Palestinians or standing up for unpopular causes vis-a-vis the status quo. That's been happening a long time. But what is new is everybody now has to take notice because the American style of gangsterism in the White House, which is, I think, an American style fascism. And what is fascism? It is the rule of big money. It is the rule of big military with white supremacy at its public face and trashing and demonizing the most vulnerable, which includes brown immigrants, which includes indigenous people, which includes gay brothers and lesbian sisters, attacking the trans, Black folk at the center. So much of the attack on public workers, public service workers, almost 20% of those are Black right there in DC and other places as well. So you always see a disproportionate amount of us being attacked. But we can't lose sight of how Wall Street and big tech is very much behind this. You can't lose sight of how big military is still very much behind us. Trump himself could not do what he's doing without the complicity of those huge institutions corporate institutions that are refusing to constitute any serious opposition. Even to talk about Harvard these days, and people pose at Harvard as if it's some kind of vanguard in the struggle for social justice. I say, get off the crack pipe. Harvard capitulated quickly. They fired two members of the Middle Eastern Department. They canceled contracts with Palestinian universities and initiated contacts with Israeli universities. They adopted very narrow definitions of anti-Semitism so that the kind of critiques of Israeli occupation, let alone genocide, could be construed as somehow anti-Semitic. Harvard only took a stand when Trump overreached and said there's going to be an audit for courses, for faculty, for curriculum, and no university could be a university with that kind of government-based receivership. So Harvard actually capitulated initially. Trump overreached. Then Harvard said, no, there's no way we can function. And now you get the battle going on with Trump and Harvard. So we have to always be truth tellers based on what's happening on the chocolate side of town, because black folk have seen this hypocrisy across the board of elites in both parties. Even the Democratic Party want to act like somehow they on the cutting edge. Please, they can't say a word about genocide in Gaza, can't say a word about poverty, can't say a word about mass incarceration, can hardly say a word about the militant wings of the trade union movement, because they're tied to the same billionaires. They're tied to the same billionaire class, and they're tied to the same indifference when it comes to the plight of poor and working class folk. Even when those black leaders in the Democratic Party want to act as if they like Malcolm X come back from the dead. Quit lying now. You have accommodated yourselves to the same forces behind the fascism. So we have to be honest about that, and what you and I were trying to do. And we had great times doing it. You know, we got some precious moments. Me, you, and Anahita, and Stanley. We can go on and on. We had some magnificent moments all around the country. In Ferguson, you remember, we had some magnificent memories and moments trying to do what? Keep alive the legacy of Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin King, Malcolm X, so many of those who gave so much. And that includes Prince and Curtis Mayfield. That includes Nina Simone. Yes, our artists are always very, very crucial in sustaining us.
Right. And we'll throw Nipsey in that mix, right? Who
Or
throw Nipsey in that mix, who also has a soundtrack for the moment, right? That a soundtrack we could be playing if it weren't on the air, right? um Dr. West, you know, when you talk about what we're facing right now, and I know we're almost 100 days in to this Trump, Vance, Musk regime, right? We're almost 100 days in. It's dizzying and disorienting when we think about all that they're coming after. You know, the erasure of trans folks, right? The erasure of Black folks and assaults on Black folks, right? The deportations, the criminalization of protest. All of this is happening. How can he move at such rapid pace and afford to make, you would think, so many enemies, so many folks? It should be, all of us are saying he's assaulting labor unions, he's assaulting the environment. It's Earth Day, right? It's an assault on the environment. He is an assault on the environment, right? He's assaulting, dismantling the Department of Education. How can he afford to make this many enemies and not be immediately knocked down?
I mean, part of it is, you're right, it's the rapidity. It's so quick. So much is happening simultaneously. What was 27 executive orders one day? It's been almost
Right.
since then, the first 100 days. But the other side of it is, my dear sister, and this is where it becomes so very important in terms of the kind of witness you bear over many decades. And this is very important. Many decades, every Wednesday, every week, every month, every year. And Black Lives Matter Grassroots, and I'm blessed to be part of the board. I'm very blessed to be part of the board because we swinging together. The crucial thing is he's manipulating fear. See, when you inculcate fear into people and try to convince them to accommodate to their own oppression, accommodate to their own domination, the only thing that breaks the back of fear is love and courage, is compassion and courage. And that's why we have to be courageous consistently. We have to be loving constantly, which means we're willing to serve, we're willing to sacrifice, we're willing to live, and we're willing to die. Because these are moments of life and death. These are moments of life and death. And we want to be constant and consistent in our service to the people.
That's right. That's
What
right.
black folk going?
That's right. So, what do you make of this assertion that this is white people's mess and black people should be sitting it out? I love a good line dance, right? I've mastered the fan dance. I can do it. I made my kids learn it. That's what we did all weekend, right? But we also line dance at the protest. What do you make of this assertion that black people can sit this one out? It's time to rest, while the world is sent to, you know, I can say hell in a handbasket, right?
And it's true, we just sliding down a slippery slope to the
Mhm.
American style fascism, in which so often it is black folk and poor folk who are targeted. But black folk can never rest. Now, nothing wrong with taking a nap. Now, I mean, you know, you pace yourself,
Yeah.
but we can't. Rest really means we are spectators and not participants. See, that spectatorship is never an option for love warriors. That's like in your personal relationship, you in love. Oh, I'm gonna take a rest, honey. I'm a spectator now in our relationship. No, you better get on back down here in the mess and the funk and the love. What all the good stuff is. Well, so it is in struggle. You never be a spectator. Now, rest in the form of taking a nap is different, because when you're taking a nap and getting to sleep, you are refortifying yourself. You are renewing yourself to be a more effective force for good, to use Coltrane's language, to be a freedom fighter. But there is a truth in terms of the white folks' mess, because, of course, you know, it was a majority of white brothers and sisters who voted for the gangster. Ain't no
Yeah.
doubt about that. 3 times. Ain't no doubt about
Right,
it. Show you how
right.
the country
That's right.
is, how sick the white supremacy still operates. It shows you how sick the myopia simply is. And that doesn't mean everybody who voted for Gangster Trump is a racist, but it means you're willing to accommodate yourself to racism, because it's clear that he is racist, xenophobic, and a host of other things. Ain't no doubt about
Right,
it.
right.
But
To
never
Go ahead.
that we just take a rest, but we do want to pace ourselves. We can't be sprinters. We got to be like yourself, long distance runner for truth, justice, and love. That's crucial, very much
That's
so.
crucial. That's crucial. One of the things I was talking about with somebody, because she was asking about Black Lives Matter grassroots and the idea of burning out. And one of the things that I said was really important that we build a movement that is restorative. So I don't actually feel tired. I can protest every day because we got donuts at the protests. We got good music at the protest. We'll do some line dancing at the protest. We'll crack some jokes, do some black radical stretch, all of that at the protest. And, we also make good headway. We also win some things by going into these streets. And I don't trust the struggle to anybody else, right? Black people, what's the saying that when white America gets a cold, black people get pneumonia. So I don't trust them to cure my pneumonia. We got to be out there curing our own pneumonia, right? And then everybody else benefits as well, but we can't give up the front lines to other folks. I'm an abolitionist. I know we all summon the spirit of our incredible foremother, Mama Harriet Tubman, and we're abolitionists in her vein, that we topple systems of harm and build systems of care. When we come forward, Dr. West, I would love for you to talk about that vision of truth, justice, and love. What do you vision in this moment? In this moment. And so there's much more coming forward with Dr. Cornel West right here on Truth Time.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not driving you, baby.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network. The body of Pope Francis, who died Monday at age 88, is lying in state in a private chapel before public viewing begins tomorrow at St. Peter's Basilica. The wife of the pro-Palestinian protester and Columbia University grad detained by immigration authorities says he wasn't allowed a temporary release for his son's birth. Mahmoud Khalil's wife said in a statement that the decision was made by ICE to make the family suffer. Harvard University is trying to block the Trump administration from freezing funding to the school in what it calls leverage to gain control of academic decision-making at Harvard. And the Supreme Court is weighing a case involving parents' rights to opt their elementary school kids out of classes using books with LGBTQ themes. This comes after the district eliminated the opt-out program. I'm Mike Island on your home for Black News First, the Black Information Network.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall alongside every episode of Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
I'm back.
So my name is Melina, Abdullah, and I'm sitting in Nina Turner's chair today talking with Dr. Cornel West. Truth time. Dr. West, this is a terrible presidency, but don't blame me because I voted for you, right? What would things have looked like? What would things have looked like? Because truth, justice, and love is a beautiful campaign slogan. And what I love is there's also some meat on those bones. There's also some tofu in that pot, right? That truth, justice, and love means something. So what would it have looked like 100 days into your presidency?
Well, because we've given a priority to one, abolishing poverty. We are abolitionists. We would have abolished police brutality and murder in the form of not just punishment, but recasting the various ways in which we can ensure safety in our communities, chocolate and whatever colors. It would mean there would be massive cutbacks in military investment with 4,000 units around the world, 800 units outside of the United States, with those investments going into housing so that we abolish unhousedness and homelessness. So we abolish decrepit school systems so that our precious children would be able to go in and be genuinely educated based on not just truth claims about the past, but affirmations of their humanity and creativity for the future. We would have universal health care so people wouldn't be so fearful, intimidated, wondering when they get sick, whether they would have funds. There would be attempts to ensure that the greedy rich who constitute 1% of the population got over 90% of the wealth. Three individuals have 50% of the wealth. Three individuals have the same wealth as 50% of the American population. We would have massive redistribution of wealth downward, because we've had massive redistribution of wealth upward from poor and working people to the 1%. So it would have been a world turned upside down. We'd be dismantling the American empire. We would be dismantling the organized greed that takes the form of predatory capitalist processes. We would be dismantling as much of the white and male supremacy as we could, as much of the homophobia and transphobia that we could. Now, we know that, of course, racism is something that is spiritual and psychic as well as structural and institutional. So we wouldn't be able to eliminate racism overnight, but we would be such countervailing forces against it. That's the crucial thing. But we keep in mind that no matter how many times they can attempt to eliminate DEI, they can never erase or eliminate TJL, which is that truth, justice, and love, because that's what people live and die for. That's what people are willing to throw down for. DEI was a weak response to white supremacy. We must treat Black people with justice and fairness. We came up with it was a weak response, but we know that reparations, we know that the kind of affirmative action based on reparations was what the initial vision was. But they brought it down. It got sanitized, sterilized, deodorized by the professional managerial classes that were trying to adjust to corporate money making and corporate ends and aims. So that what we would simply trying to do is just, as you say, we just trying to keep alive legacies of Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. And
so So the exact opposite side of what we're facing. Instead of the elimination of DEI, we'd be ushering in ethnic studies requirements, right? Instead of sending our money, what we see is really thievery, right? The theft of public resources for private profit, right? This is a wholesale thievery of public resources that were meant for the public good going into the pockets of people like Elon Musk. And I loved our 100-day document because we actually published a 100-day document. At the top of the agenda is an end to the genocide in Palestine, an end to the genocide in Palestine. We said on day one, because this is again, money that could be used so everyone, as you say, everyone is housed, everyone has good health care, everyone has real education. This is money that they're spending for a genocide, so that and they showed their hand so that they can clear that area, clear Palestine, to make it, what did Trump call it, the Riviera of the Riviera of the Middle East? No, not on the blood and bones of our people. And so we're also very different from someone who can talk for 25 hours straight and never mention um, never mention Palestine a single time.
Not one word, but he's speaking on behalf of his party. He's speaking, Brother Corey was speaking on behalf of the Democratic Party. But you're absolutely right. You see, and this is true for the moral and spiritual compass that we had in our campaign, which is grounded in the best of our movement. We never, ever, ever want to see an oppressed people feeling so abandoned, feeling as if they're so lonely and nobody cares about them, feeling as if they do not matter. We would say quite explicitly, Palestinian brothers and sisters and siblings, you matter. Just like
You
any
matter.
other
You
slave.
matter. And we can't just sleep. We can't sleep while babies and mamas and babas are being killed, while the bombs are still dropping. We're not going to be silent. And Dr. West, what I really appreciate is you do lift up the things that people are too scared to say. You said just a moment ago, reparations, reparations. That was another word that was never uttered by Cory Booker in those 25 hours. But also, it's not something that we've seen people like Bernie Sanders and AOC who are on tour. They've not been willing to engage in a question of real reparations. What are your thoughts about where we could be 100 days into a West presidency?
Well, one is, I think, the sad reality is that both parties are beyond redemption because they become so thoroughly dominated and colonized by big money. So that, as you rightly say, there's taboo issues they will not talk about. They won't talk about mass incarceration. I still believe mass incarceration is a crime against humanity, disproportionately affecting our young brothers and sisters on chocolate sides of town. They won't say a word about poverty in all of its various dimensions, and then won't say a word about genocide in Gaza or genocide in Congo or policies toward Haiti that need to be turned upside down and so forth and so on. So in that sense, they don't want to confront the system. They don't want to come to terms with the corruption of the system and just how sick the system are and those who accommodate themselves to that sick system. And that's precisely what Malcolm and Martin and Huey and Angela and the others have taught us from the 60s and 70s. And the good news is that you and I, even though we made it to 2025, still smiling with style, we still rooted in the legacy of those 60s and 70s. We're unapologetically progressive, leftist, loving Black people, loving poor people, loving working people till the end, no matter how unfashionable it is, no matter how unpopular it is. We go down swinging in the name of truth and justice and love. That's how we roll. Just like that's how Prince played his guitar. That's how his band rolled.
That's how we roll. And when we come forward, Dr. West, I want to lift up some victories that we're seeing, because we're not the only ones who feel this way, right? I'm seeing students on campus campuses around the country rise up, and we know they face terrible repercussions, right? We're also seeing even some electoral wins and electoral possibilities. Our brother Chokwe Antar Lumumba is up for re-election, and we know that the system came down trying to get him, but I think the people of Jackson are gonna win, right? We also saw Barbara Lee defeat the gentrifier candidate, right? So I would love to talk to you about where you see victories coming, even when it seems really, really bleak out there. More with Dr. Cornel West right here on Truth Time.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2024, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-246-1923. That's 800-246-1923. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-246-1923 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
This is Stevie Wonder, calling on Los Angeles property owners to help get unhoused veterans off the street. If you're a property owner or know someone who is, consider accepting veteran housing vouchers. You will receive guaranteed rent while providing a stable and safe home. Help end veteran homelessness and make a real difference in people's lives.
Learn more by emailing houseourvets@lacity.org.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community, educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
My name is Melina Abdullah, and I'm sitting in Nina Turner's chair talking with my friend, my president, Dr. Cornel West, about where we are in this country and in this world and where we can be. You know, we're talking about all that we face, but also all that we vision and build. And there's a indigenous proverb that talks about cloudy days, and it says, even when there are clouds, we have to remember that the sun is still there. That the sun is still there. And the sun is still there. And I see the sun every time I set foot on campus and watch these courageous students. There's a young sister named Angel Marie Taylor who's put everything on the line, who's facing expulsion at Cal State Channel Islands for speaking up and consistently speaking up. There's another young brother, one of the only Black students at a small college called Woodbury University in Burbank, who's putting it all on the line. His name is Jabri Lowe. I'm thinking about the sister at University of Michigan and all these courageous students who, you know, are much more audacious than even you or me. I'm also thinking about folks who said, no, we're not going to go for the candidate of the real estate developers. We're going to go for Barbara Lee, and Barbara Lee speaks for me, and she was voted in as Oakland, my hometown's mayor, right, this week. And today is election day for Chokwe Antar Lumumba. We know he is the son of Chokwe Lumumba, and we know that they pitted a liberal against him and funded his opponent's campaign to try to get Chokwe Antar out because he's steered Jackson, the blackest city in the country, towards autonomy and self-sufficiency. I think Jackson is still 87% Black, and he thinks the water systems, the educational system, the airport, all of that should be in the control of the Black residents of Jackson. And so I'm saying all that to say that I think that there are still little rays of light, rays of hope. What do you see, Dr. West?
Well, I just love the fact that you call those names because they exemplify hope, because we have to be a hope even before we talk about a hope. Hope is not something abstract. It's something that's concrete and as real as a heart attack, is as strong as a rock, and as new as foam, is forever being renewed and revitalized. Now, as I recall, your beloved mother graduated from Spelman. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
You know, Anahita and I on our way to Morehouse. They've asked me to give the commencement address at Morehouse. Now, Benjamin Elijah Mays, president from 1940 to 1967, 27 years shaping Martin Luther King Jr. and others. When I met that brother 40 years ago, he told me, Brother West, don't ever forget the great miracle and victory of Black people is that we still here. We in our right minds. We still have our spirits. And he's absolutely right. That they might break our bones, they can't break our spirit. They can try to dampen our fire. They can never put out all the flames. We are a people who keep on pushing, as Curtis Mayfield says. We're going to have love warriors, freedom fighters. We're going to have wounded healers and joy sharers and spreaders, no matter what. We keep on coming. Ain't no stopping us. They can crush us for a moment. Here we come through the cracks. Ooh, Lord. Rose through the crack. Isn't that Finney's book that she wrote about her son named Tupac? Same tradition. Different waves in the same great river that Langston Hughes talked about. That river just keeps flowing and the waves keep coming up. That's the history of Black folk at our best. That's what we stand for, and we're going to go down swinging.
Yes, and we swing in a lot of ways. We swing in a lot of ways, right? So I think as you say that, as you offer that, this is a calling to us, right? To join movement, to not be quiet, right? To the fan dance song is literally called Boots on the Ground. That's the title of the song. So boots on the ground means, yes, learn the line dance, but also put your boots on the ground. And I think Black Lives Matter Grassroots would love to have you, but if it's not your thing, figure out which is your thing and plug into that. What do you think folks need to do to figure out what their calling is and how to come into movement?
Boots on the ground say, kicking up dust, where the fans at?
Where the fans at?
All of that creativity, vision, all of that courage, breaking the back of fear, all of that constancy and consistency that's piercing through the appearance to see the reality. And what is reality? Black folks still standing with grace and dignity and determination, with self-respect, self-confidence, and self-regard. That's what we keep our focus on. And that's how we got through all of these 400 years of nightmare and even more to come. We shall forever be wrestling with adverse circumstances in one sense, but on another sense, victory will be ours.
Yes. And I think I have a chance to just slide this in real quickly before we come to time, which is, Bernie and AOC are on tour. And they've seen real tremendous crowds wherever they go. I appreciate a much more progressive vision than we've seen from mainstream Democrats. It's much better than Joe Biden. However, when we talk about what's not said, we've also witnessed, people show up at the rallies with Palestinian flags, right? With Sudanese flags and be escorted out. We still haven't heard either of them talk about reparations. We haven't heard them push back forcefully enough on not just the erosion of DEI. Uh-oh. I think this computer went out. Not just the erosion of DEI, but for the advancement of Black and Indigenous people. And so I'm asking Dr. West, what do you think the role is for people like Bernie, people like AOC? Is it enough, or do we need to do more than that?
No, I think it's radically inadequate. It's a beautiful thing for them to go around and show the country the hunger and thirst for not just resistance to Trump, but for something that has to do with universal health care, that has to do with a critique of Wall Street greed. But we know from Bernie's past that the critique of Wall Street greed and the call for universal health care is not enough. If you're not saying something about the vicious legacy of white supremacy, if you can't say a mumbling word about the genocide in Gaza, then it's clear that you don't have enough fire in your gut. You don't have a broad enough vision for the people to actually follow you in a substantive way.
That's right. That's right. So it's okay to say it's better than, but it's not good enough. I think, and I know we're coming up on time, but I've assigned my students to read Octavia Butler. And so in the fall, we read Parable of the Sower, and now we just finished Parable of the Talents. And one of the things that Octavia Butler brilliantly teaches us is that we have to build for Earthseed. We have to build for the world we really want, need, and deserve. And so just as we're closing, how do we do that? How do we build for our Earthseed? How do we imagine beyond what we may have ever experienced?
Well, again, we go back to the best of our history, and the best of our history is the love of Black people. And what is love? Love is a need, love is a deed, and love is a seed.
Love is a need, a deed, and a seed, like an earth seed, Dr. West, what would you tell people to read? Because I'm reading. We read Octavia Butler, and now we're reading Mariam Kaba's "We Do This Till We Free Us." What would you put at the top of your reading list for folks right now?
Right now, ooh, that's a wonderful question. I have a feeling for me, it would be The Source of Self-Regard by the inimitable Toni Morrison, and listen to a little Sarah Vaughan and Aretha while you're reading it.
There we go. There we go. Well, it's been an honor talking with you, Dr. West. We have much more to talk about. I hope we don't let this much time go by before we do it again. But I needed this. I needed this for my soul. And in moments like this, in moments of crisis, I think that we restore each other, that we can always check in with each other, that we can remember that the sun is still behind the clouds, and we can continue to build and fight. And when we do it together, and when we do it righteously, and when we call on our righteous ancestors to help us in the fight, when we lean on each other and we organize together, I think that our win is inevitable. And that's the truth. Ruth, I've never said that before. That's the truth, Ruth. But it's truth time, Dr. West. Thank you so much.
Salute you, my dear sister.
All right. Much love to you. Love to Anahita too.
Indeed. Love you, love you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Eiling with 4 things you should know on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network. The body of Pope Francis, who died Monday at age 88, is lying in state in a private chapel before public viewing begins tomorrow at St. Peter's Basilica. The wife of the pro-Palestinian